health for yourself, and again, not to compare yourself to the rest of the world about how sexy or swimsuit-ish you are, or how much of a bodybuilder you are. It's more about just gaining that health. And health, we're going to be reintroducing Dr. Kim back on the show. Health is not just your body. Health is in the areas of physical, social, spiritual, and your mental development. So when you have all four of those holistically, when people talk about holistic medicine, they're not just talking about the difference between putting chemicals in your body, pharmaceuticals, versus eating nutritionally, getting chiropractic care, whatever the case might be, but they're also talking about getting your life in balance in those four areas as well. So wanted to welcome Dr. Kim back on the show.
Thank you.
And Dr. Kim is the co-founder and co-CEO of the Vita Center, which is, if you want to find it online, it's THE, right? Or it's the Vita Center, or just vitacenter.com?
It's Vita Center.
Okay, VITIS center.com. And phone number to reach you?
602-307-0888.
And one example that I just have to give, even though we'll have a testimonial later, we haven't heard it yet. It's just it hasn't come into fruition yet. But my brother got gout, and he's constantly managing that gout, and he feels like he has gout for the rest of his life. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But if the reason why I'm referring him to Dr. Kim is Dr. Kim believes, and I think she's not wrong, that he can actually cure that gout rather than just managing the symptoms. So now that's a transition into Dr. Lee's book, which is To Juice or Not Juice. There is no question. And so if you want to talk a little bit about your book, and why should people juice? Why should somebody like my brother juice? Not that we need to diagnose him over the air, but
no.
What is it about juicing that's so special?
So the part about juicing that's so special is that juice actually is all of the nutrients in so many vegetables and without the fiber. And the reason why they're like, well, fiber is a good thing. Why would we not want to do fiber? It's because there's a specific purpose to juicing. Drinking juice with your meal is one thing, but when you actually fast or juice fast, then you have a different, you're having a different purpose. So what you're actually doing, if you think of your anatomy, the secret to being the healthiest you can be is a healthy immune system. Being free from all of these diseases that have names and everything else. The secret to that is having a healthy immune system. And we have to think about where is the vast majority of our immune system. It's in your gut. So if you can look at, I don't know the viewers out there on YouTube, on the YouTube world, if you can picture your body, if you think about it, just envision me putting my hand in my mouth and kind of feeling that whole gut lining is actually exposed to the outside world, except it's dark and moist, and it's kept meticulously at 98.7 degrees, 98.6 degrees, right? So it's prime place. It's like the outside elements on steroids, as it were. So then it would only make sense. This barrier has to be thin enough. Well, it has to be thin enough to be able to absorb and excrete things that we need for our body and things we don't. And it has to be fortified enough to protect us from the outside elements. So then, if you think about it, then that means that our gut has two departments, a department of maintenance and a department of defense, as it were. So the Department of Defense now is that, and it comes from the same funding source. Okay, so if you want to, the secret to getting better when you're acutely ill is going to be to stop eating. Because if you have, it's like budget cuts, right? So if you want to devote more of your energy into the immune system, as opposed to the digestive portion of it, is that you stop. All of the other animals of the animal kingdom, they know that. The first thing, do you have pets?
Yes.
So how do you know when your pet's really sick?
They stop.
They stop eating.
Yeah, they do. They stop eating and stop moving.
They stop moving and they stop eating. And sometimes dogs will go start munching on different herbs or grasses that they don't usually eat normally.
Yeah,
but then they're like, oh, you're gonna be better, but you're a little sick. But when your dog or cat stops eating, now it's time to call the vet. Everybody knows that. why would we be any different? So what happens with the juice feasting is that we call it feasting because you're getting so many nutrients through the gut. So your gut now doesn't have to work so hard to get the nutrients that it needs to heal itself.
What about the concept of chewing your juice? Are you a believer in that?
It looks kind of funny, right? You swishing it through your saliva and the enzymes that are there. I think that's really good. It's a good thing to do.
Okay.
So I think swishing
Helps
it around before you.
The digestive process begin.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Sure.
So.
And there was a time, I want to debunk a couple of things, that when I did have holistic people say, you know what, you need to chew your food, get your enzymes in there before you swallow, and I'm like, you know what, I'm trying to lose weight here, and the better the digestive system works, then the more calories it absorbs into my body. Maybe I don't want it to work, and that's actually fallacious thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the way you should be thinking instead, is that similar to speaking of budget cuts, is that you want to just spend your money on the best things for you. So in other words, spend your calories on the things that are the best for you. Then you will never be hungry if you're eating things that are low calorie, high nutrient, and they come into your body. Could you explain what you explained to me about why Americans are getting so obese that we keep chasing those nutrients and we never get them, so we keep eating and eating and eating and never stop?
Right. We talked about in the beginning of the show that our satiety center is a center in our brain that tells us, okay, we've had enough, that's enough.
Yeah,
food.
And it's not just food, it's enough nutrients.
Nutrients. So,
yeah.
Well, that it's the thing is that it's actually quality based, not quantity based.
Right.
So this is the same reason why you can be on a 32-day juice fast that I was on. That actually cured me of my autoimmune diseases that I was diagnosed with. So it's you can go for 32 days just drinking green juice and be okay and not hungry, but you can eat a pound bag of potato chips and then an hour later you'll be hungry again.
Right.
So the obesity, the weight isn't a problem. I think it's more of a side effect of what happens because your body's going to continue to crave that more nutrients. It's going to be like, okay, we need more. And then the side effect of that is that in order to get that amount of nutrients, you needed this much cooked food or processed food or what have you. Then what are we going to do with the excess calories that we had to consume in the process?
Store them right in our spare tire.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have, at one point I had multiple spare tires.
Yeah, we may have a few. Like
it's true.
The Pillsbury,
like the Michelin Man.
Yeah, Michelin, that's a better example. So, but yeah, that's what ends up happening to Americans is we keep chasing those nutrients, and by the time we're done with the day, sometimes we put 8,000 calories into our bodies, and we should only be putting in 2, potentially. I'm not diagnosing anybody over the air, but the point is that there should be a lot less calories than that, but we think we're eating more potato chips, but we may need some minerals, so we're thinking that the salt in them is what it is, and we just never get the real minerals where your body really needs. So I think that was one of the jewels that in discussing off the air that made me bring Dr. Kim on. And I think she has some great kernels of wisdom for you. We have 2 minutes. Share a little bit more about the juicing, because I believe so strongly in juicing. And then let's do some wrap up here at the end of the show.
Yeah, just so the juicing thing, the biggest reason why people should juice is that right now in the soil, we have, compared to 1950s or so, I think we have like less than half the nutrients in the soil anymore because of the way we farm. We farm the living bejeezers out of the land, and so now we don't have the high quality of minerals in the plants that we eat anymore. So now we require more food, and so what happens is that the juice will give us an opportunity to get the nutrients of all of these vegetables, like an armful of vegetables, into a quart of juice that's easily consumed, and your body doesn't have to eat and work as hard, which compromises your immune system.
That's so well said. So if you're subscribing to what we're talking about, to just say, hey, you know what, inside of a day, I want to be able to have a very concentrated way to get those nutrients in, so then I'll stop those cravings. And it's not that you're craving weird stuff like you're craving vinegar or you're craving whatever. It's that you're just wanting more and more more food.
Mm-hmm.
That's the craving that we're talking about. And so if you fall into that same category, also, by the way, this falls in the same category as stress eating. I would say,
Hunger.
that's what I did. I stress ate and my way into a lot heavier category. And so when you're stressed, what does your body need to fight off the stress and combat the stress? It needs more nutrients.
Right.
So this is why I'm a huge fan of Dr. Kim and her book. So for those of you who are very interested, if you go to a little bit later, if you go to the vitacenter.com or just vitacenter.com, VITISCENTER.com, and then you can download the ebook, or you can call the main office.
602-307-0888.
Wonderful. And it looks like we are just about to end the show. Thanks to all of our listeners. We couldn't do it without you, and we also couldn't have done it without Dr. Kim today. So thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. This is so
welcome.
fun.
It was great having you on the show, and we look forward to our next show. Thanks to all of our listeners again. And this is Kurt Wilhelm signing off here on Voice America World Talk Radio. We'll see you next week.